There are a lot of Final Fantasy villains that have a special place in my heart, and I'm not talking about antagonists like the Dark Knight or Jet. In my eyes, villains and antagonists are completely different. Antagonists are people that actively oppose someone due to interfering with their own goals. Not specifically for malefic reasons, but just due to wanting something, I guess. While villains are people that initially do things that will cause them harm. Jet? Not his fault. Gray Fox, wrong game. Still, he's good. Sephiroth, that's open for discussion. Kefka Palazzo? I believe that's actually an Italian last name. Oh, it is. Kefka Palazzo, on the other hand, is the villain of Final Fantasy. He evolves as a character in one of the best ways possible. From beginning to end, he is a masterful example of what a horrid, nihilistic jester should look and sound like. Well, aside from the laugh.
Next, try laughing out loud.
What?
Come on, show me. You probably shouldn't laugh anymore.
I'll also be bringing Final Fantasy Dissidia into this because it's almost a better representation of Kefka than FF6 itself. So without further ado, let's get started. First off, let's take a look at his design. Kefka looks like he doesn't really belong in Final Fantasy. All the vibrant colors and stances he takes just don't match up with the usual Final Fantasy bosses before him. Most of which have been huge, towering, scary knight-looking dudes. And instead, here we have a cowardly, backstabbing jester with frayed, colorful clothing and makeup. I think he rather belongs in JoJo than here, but that's for another discussion. He's apparently only about 5'4" as told by his Dissidia description, so if I go by this, I bet Hope could probably beat him in a fist fight. My favorite part about his entire design is his facial expression and his ears. That playful smile backed up by those menacing pointy ears. I don't know about you, but unless they're elves, anyone with pointy ears is just never trustworthy. So by now, you're looking at this and thinking, what? How could he possibly be worse than Sephiroth or Kuja? He's just a dumb nerd. Well, that's partially true, but what does he look like in-game? Like this? Or this? The answer to both of those is no. He really looks like this. It's not his form that's inherently terrifying. It's what he does and why he does things that makes him such a horrible and evil person. So, let's start with a simple question. What did he do wrong? Well, the first time you see him, he's walking in the desert with his soldiers, and he demands that they wipe the sand off of his shoes. One time, he used a magical device called a slave crown to control a little girl to burn 50 soldiers. Alive. He hits a guy in the leg with a morning star, because why not? He set a castle on fire because maybe someone was lying, probably. He tries to kill an entire castle by poisoning a river. JK, was just Kool-Aid. Ah, gotcha. Oh shit, everyone died. Also, he burns another town, just for the lulz, of course. Kills a bunch of espers. Gets stabbed and then kills his quote-unquote ally. Makes a bunch of people suffer so he can become a god. He literally succeeds in destroying the world, and yes, he splits it in half. He says after destroying the world, and I quote, "Destruction is fun precisely because precious lives were lost in the process." The worst thing he did was raise a giant pillar with fleshy statue things of himself on it. Ugh. I could have played the whole game without saying that. You know what? Speaking of inspirational Kefka quotes, why don't we read a few? I'm sure it'll inspire me in many ways. I hate you. Ouch. Blood, you vicious brat. You know, you really are stupid, vicious, arrogant, whiny, pampered, backstabbing, worthless little brat. And lastly, I think, which is his best one, life, dreams, hope. Where do they come from? Where do they go? None of that junk is enough to fulfill your hearts. Destruction. Destruction is what makes life worth living. Destroy, destroy, destroy. Let's destroy everything. So this all leads to an even bigger question. Why is Kefka like this? Well, back when Kefka was 35, I think, he was a test subject that was supposed to become a Magitech Knight. He was supposed to gain immense magical power and stuff like that, but instead he almost got nothing and he went completely insane. Pretty fair trade, right? His final two forms in his boss fight are interesting. You could say that Kefka actually invented the standard of these 3-stage bosses for Final Fantasy, or even video games in general. Technically this is a 4-stage boss fight, but I'm going to narrow it down to 2 since the first 3 stages are all part of the same enemy. His first 3 forms are that pillar I talked about earlier. The first time I saw this sprite, I almost lost it at how cool it was, and this was only 4 years ago. It's such a twisted and narcissistic piece of art. Kefka is all over it along with a young woman binded to it, a top-sitting Kefka himself, or at least what he'd like to believe he looks like. I find this very interesting because the bottom half is by far the most hellish and demonic thing in the game, and then at the very top there's this holy radiant Kefka. What it's really trying to say is that Kefka's entire character and plan is built off of madness and is only held up by it. If he ever changed his mindset, he would just fall apart. His last form I actually favor far less than the second. In this form, he is obviously depicted as Lucifer himself. It's still a really cool thing, but Shin Megami Tensei did it first. This is also why I can't stand FF7's Sephiroth design and FF8's Ultimecia design. They just look so similar, and it made me feel less upon seeing it. But less for Ultimecia just because, or I can't say her name correctly. Less for her just because, I don't know, I have a slight bias towards FF8 as opposed to FF7. I know this might be hard to believe, but remember when I said that Kefka was a better Kefka in Dissidia than in his own game? Well, just watch this.
Not enough. Destroy more. Have got to destroy more.
Just stop! None of this makes any sense!
Destruction isn't supposed to make sense. It's only fun when it's senseless. Why create when it will only be destroyed? Why cling to life, knowing that you have to die? None of it will have meant anything once you do.
We live to protect what we hold dear. As long as you have that, you can find the meaning on your own.
Meaning schmeaning. The whole world's going bye-bye, you included. Life. Dreams. Hope. Where do they come from? And where do they go? None of that junk is enough to fulfill your hearts! Destruction! Destruction is what makes life worth living! Destroy! 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 Let's destroy everything!
It was your broken heart. You were trying to fill it with destruction. This misery must not be repeated. Ever. I must keep moving forward.
Okay, so after almost legitimately crying for a minute, I did realize a few things that I kind of wanted to talk about post what I already had set in stone and I wanted to say. I really wanted to say that I do enjoy designs like his. I always find that the Mad Jester design works everywhere. It works well in Tormentum, with the Jester that's on the throne. It works well in League of Legends with Shaco, even though I can't play him. I don't like how he plays. And especially with Kefka, he's my favorite out of all of them. And if there's any Final Fantasy, I'd say that's worth just jumping in on and trying to get, like, just trying to get a hold of and just trying to figure out what Final Fantasy is about, I'd say it's 6. But that's just me. I may be insane. I may be crazy. I may actually be Kefka for all I know. I love stories like this. I love stories where either the hero or the villain starts out with nothing. Like, Kefka just starts out a normal dude whose best weapon is a mace he can pick up and, like, a shield. And, like, standard plate armor. He's just a regular dude. But by the end of the game, he's literally become a god. He's something that's insane. Like, I've never... When I first started playing the game, when I originally saw that sprite pop up on screen, I'm like, who's this goof? Who's this side character? And then the more and more I started playing the game, I just started thinking about him, and I'm like, okay, I don't think he's a side character anymore. But he's definitely not the main villain, is he? And I got to the end of the game, and I'm like, holy shit, this clown. This jester I underestimated the whole time. It was him. So I just wanted to leave on that happy note. And I want you guys to know that I do like a lot of Let's Play stuff, I guess. I especially like RPGs and story-based games, so if you want to check that out. If not, just your view to this point counts. As in turns for cookie points. That's an imaginary currency on my channel now. Okay, anyways, I will catch you guys next time. This is the beginning of Final Fantasy month, so if you guys want to see the next video, just wait like a week or two and it'll be out. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you don't go insane like Kefka.
Goody two-shoes. Time to come home to Papa. Oh, who's that handsome devil? I see a poser.